Well, a natural creek, you would think, would be an asset to almost any garden, but on the weekend of May 1st and 2nd, one of this garden's greatest assets also became one of its greatest liabilities. And this creek that you see flowing sweetly around my feet right now was a raging river, well up over head high on me where I'm standing now, and really devastated about a third to half of this beautiful garden. This is a garden that I have helped with over the years, design and create, and I've been involved here for about 12 years. And although the garden was not totally devastated, there was a lot of damage done, and we did lose a lot of topsoil. We lost a lot of garden features. We lost fencing in places. This garden was really hit hard, and I would love to tell you just a little bit about how we're going to recover from it. So now the question is what to expect from your garden, from your plants, from your soil. And the honest answer is a lot of us haven't been through this before, so we're not exactly sure what to expect. But I think one of the things that we obviously know is that your topsoil is probably gone. So when you get ready to start replacing topsoil, I would not recommend using bagged potting soil. So make sure that you go to a reputable company who's going to bring you high quality, good garden soil, good topsoil. And there are even some places in town that do soil mixes. So if you have the option, why not take advantage of it? From the plant's perspective, I think we're going to see some plants recover very, very quickly. Old established plants are probably going to recover fairly well. More recently planted things whose roots weren't quite established, if they're still in the ground, probably are going to have a little harder time getting back to normal because they've been through a major stress. So anything that you can do, like root stimulators, I would say light on the fertilizer right now, probably maybe even no fertilizer, but a root stimulator type product that will help reestablish those roots in the ground and get them growing again would be a real advantage to a lot of plants. Some plants may have been taken out of the ground entirely and maybe even washed away. If you can find things that are laying around your yard, those plants obviously have been completely exposed to the elements. So a little babying is going to be necessary for those plants, but I think a lot of them will survive. One of the decisions that you'll have to make is which plants to cut back and which plants to leave standing. And that's really going to be just a case-by-case scenario. Obviously, most of your shrubs and woody plants, you're really going to want to leave those standing as much as possible. But things like perennials that grow from a rootstock underground, a lot of them will regenerate. And in this case, I'm in a garden that 2 weeks ago was so lush and so full that I could not have been squatted down in here. And now you can see that so many of the plants have had to be cut back. This hosta in front of me is a great example. And for hostas, my general recommendation would be that if it's a plant that is a good old-fashioned standard variety that's very vigorous, you could go ahead and probably cut those plants back almost to the ground and they'll come back. They may not be as big this summer and probably won't be as big this summer as they normally would get, but they will put on new leaves. Now, rarer plants, more delicate plants, I would be a little more hesitant about cutting back really hard like that. One of the hardest hit areas of this garden obviously was the creek bank. And this area in particular, and actually between me and the camera, there was a small tree in here. And I'm not sure that the tree has actually been found yet. It's downstream somewhere. So there's obviously going to be a lot of restoration that has to be done in this area. It probably will be large rubble rock underneath and then new topsoil over that, because we have about a 6 or 8 foot section of creek bank that has washed out here. What about those of you who vegetable garden? What is safe and what is not safe if you've already had your vegetable garden in for a while and you have early crops coming on? General consensus is that leafy greens like perhaps turnip greens, lettuce, those types of things that are or were ready to harvest when the flood hit are probably not safe for consumption if they were covered by flood water. If you had crops that were setting but not ripe yet and not ready for harvest, those crops probably will be okay as long as they're very thoroughly washed. Between now and the time they're ready for harvest, there probably will be several more rainfalls, but certainly when you do get ready to harvest and consume them, you're definitely going to want to wash them very well. If you already had tomato plants and things like that in the ground and they didn't wash away, you probably don't have much, if any, fruit set yet. Those plants should be fine. It won't contaminate the plants themselves. It's really more about the edible part of the plant that you're getting ready to eat. It's been a tough couple of years gardening in Middle Tennessee. The early spring freeze that we had a couple of Easters ago after things had already leafed out. This year we've had a flood. I hate to tell you, but it's just a couple of years away when it's time for the 17-year cicada again, but hopefully we'll have recovered from this by then. But all in all, I think we're all going to recover very well. Just keep in mind that as you're beginning to put your gardens back together, good topsoil and a little TLC is going to go a long ways. Best of luck and happy gardening.